Hi, mamas. We are here with Tramika Craddock. Thank you, Tramika, for coming and being with us today. And we're so excited to learn from you. Tramika is a certified lifestyle coach and mompreneur for about 12 plus years. And she helps moms find healthy balance between life, family, and business. She teaches systems and strategies in four main areas: time management, planning, organization, and self-care, to help moms live their best lives now without compromising family. I think we all need that, Tramika. Thank you for being here and being willing to talk to us about these hot points. I would say, as a mom, it's hard to do all of these things, and we will take any tips we can get from you. So thanks for being here.
Awesome. And thank you so much for having me as well. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet. So the first strategy we want to talk about here is time management. How can we manage our time to balance everything? Because sometimes it feels almost impossible as a mom to be able to balance everything and then feel like you did your best. So what kind of tips and tricks do you have for us that can help us manage our time a little better?
Sure. So great question. And like you mentioned, it is difficult to try to balance all the responsibilities we have as a mom, right? And so then most of us as women, it goes beyond motherhood. So we have other responsibilities, like we may work, we may have a business, we may be married. And so there's all these different plates that I call more hats that we're trying to balance at one time. And so sometimes we tend to beat ourselves up, or we feel guilty when we're not getting or addressing the particular task for the day as we feel like we should, right? And so one of the biggest tips that I like to give my moms is looking at our day-to-day from a week perspective versus just a single day. And so if you tell me, or I write down this never ending to-do list, at least that's how I feel like sometimes, like it never ends, right? We cross everything out, but then you add like 5 more things. So it never ends. And so if you gave me a list of, let's just say 25 things to do, and you asked me to get those 25 things done in a matter of 24 hours, it seems super overwhelming, right? And so the strategy that I teach, or the hack or tip that I like to give, is looking at it from a week's perspective. So instead of looking at 24 hours, saying, okay, I have 168 hours in the week to be able to get tasks done. So super, super better, takes off all the pressure. If you tell me 25 items in 24 hours versus 168, it's like, oh, okay, I feel like I can accomplish that a little bit better, right? So that's the first tip that I always love to give. Make sure you're looking at everything from a week perspective and kind of breaking things down throughout the week versus feeling like you have to get so much done in just a 24-hour period. You don't need to cook every day. Maybe some days you have leftover days. Maybe some days you go out to eat. You don't absolutely need to do laundry or chores all in a full day. Break it up. Clean the bathrooms on Tuesday, clean the kitchen on Wednesday. Different things like that is going to help us kind of spread things out where we don't feel so overwhelmed and feel so pressured, and we can manage our time just a little bit better so that we can maximize the time that we're given.
I love that. Yeah. So the couple things you mentioned is just that list never ends. And you feel like, I'm like, oh, I got laundry done this week. Yes. Okay. And then you go into your kids' rooms and you see another pile of clothes. Just
right.
But I do like that, how you said, hey, don't look at it as a day, but look at it as a week, and plan your time out that way. That's awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So organization, what kind of tips can you give us to make life a little easier by organizing?
So I love organization. So 2 main tips that I like to give when it comes to organization. The first thing is hot spots. Like the spots that you're frequently in all the time. So in your home, and everybody's home is different, right? So in your home, it may be the kitchen, it may be the living room. Everybody's kind of gathering together with everything going on in the world right now. A lot of us are home a lot more. So what do those hot spots look like, right? So it can be the bedroom, the kids' closet, because you're picking out clothes every day. Maybe your area where you're putting on makeup, in your bathroom, all those hot spots. Making sure those hot spots are organized. So if you don't get to the garage, if you don't get to the attic, if you don't get to the basement, it's okay. We're all going to live, but making sure the hot spots are organized is going to help you move more efficiently, smoothly and effectively throughout those areas. And so I remember times where it's like getting the kids ready for school and then my child can't find their other shoe. Like, oh my God, now we're 15, 20 minutes late, right? And so
Yes.
making sure those particular areas are kind of organized, again, the hot spots is going to be super important. The second tip that I would give on when it comes to organization, I have moms who are like the whole house is just crazy. Like, I don't know where to start. I don't
That's
know
what I was
to
going to
do.
say. What if every room is your hotspot?
Right. Everything.
Speaking from experience.
I have a suggestion or a tip for you. And so 15 minutes a day decluttering. So start 15 minutes a day. So typically, like the example I always like to give is my garage. For whatever, we don't live in the garage, but I don't know. It always seems to get chaotic out there, right? And so I'll walk through the garage when I come home and I'll look and I'm like, okay, I need to tackle this, but I know it's going to take me about 4 hours. Oh, I'm not going to do it today. I'll try again tomorrow. And we keep putting it off and putting it off because you're looking for this big, large time to be able to go out and tackle it all. And then you're feeling like the anxiety and pressure, knowing it needs to get done, but then anxiety and pressure on the other end, knowing that I don't really have a whole 4 hour block of time. So the 15, so the 15 minute a day strategy for decluttering is super, super important and it works, right? And so if you do 15 minutes, let's just say 3 times a week, 4 times a week, every day, however that looks, eventually over time, you kind of get to everything instead of looking for a big block of time to go and tackle it all.
So you're saying like 15 minutes. So it's 15 minutes, 3 times a week in the garage is what you're saying. So just, or any whatever place.
Yep.
Yes. So like say it's the garage. So you go, okay, I'm going to focus on the garage this week. I'm going to take 15 minutes while I can. I like that because as a mom, you really get stopped 15 million times a day. So every 15 minutes you're stopped and you have to go do something else or help another kid or run to the store or do whatever. So it's a busy time. I like that. Thank you. And then the next one is planning. So how do you plan if you're not a planner? Me. I am a fly by the seat of my pants. I do have to plan for some things, obviously, but how do you plan if you're not so much of a planner? What's a good place to start?
So a good place to start is, I would say, so the strategy that I teach with planning is planning out the week, again, looking at it from a week perspective versus day to day, right? And so the strategy literally is called Sunday prep. Yours can be Saturday, it can be Monday, whatever is the least busiest day of your week. You kind of sit down, look at the week ahead, look at any appointments you have, look at those concrete activities that may not change. Like if you show up for work, particular hours, baseball practice, extracurricular activity for the kids, you kind of look at what's coming up and you kind of plan accordingly, planning like your meals accordingly. Like, okay, Tuesday, I'm going to be busy from sun up to sundown. May not necessarily be a good day that I should try to cook a meal because I'm going to get frustrated, right? I need to get it done. The kids have to eat. I need to eat. But it's just too busy. And so maybe it looks like you cooking on Monday and having leftovers for Tuesday, or shooting by the place that does the dollar tacos on Tuesday, right? And so just planning out so that you can maximize your time and be as productive as you can throughout the week. And so for the person that's just like, oh, I like to just blow with the wind. I don't want to be structured. I really don't plan. I would just say start with a few days a week. So for me, I plan out my whole 7 days. If you can't do that or don't desire to do that, start where you are. Start maybe the next day. I'm going to try to put some concrete things in just for my next day so that I can make it to the next day, right? And then maybe trying to increase that by doing it a couple of days a week. But I literally sit down on Sundays, and there's 3 main components that I plan out. I have a household calendar that I display. It's literally in the kitchen on a whiteboard. It tells everyone, my oldest, she works, so it has her work schedule. If I'm doing, I run my business from home. So if I'm doing like any business calls, anything, it has that on there. If there's any type of appointments, everything, so that the house is on one accord. We kind of know what's going on throughout the week as a family, right? The second component to Sunday prep is I do the meal planning. And so I will sit down, say what we're going to eat for like the next week or so. And then I literally put everything on that board, so everybody's familiar with what we're going to eat, the menus out there. And it helps me as well. It helps me not only grocery shop, but it's going to help me to know like, okay, Tramika, today is Tuesday. You're going to be super busy. It's not a day that you should be cooking.
Right.
And then the third component to that, for me, it would be business. For someone else, if you're working, maybe it's your work schedule or whatever that looks like. But for me, it's having my business calendar together, everything that I have to do for the week. And I put that in a planner, handwritten planner that I keep on my desk. So those are the three components of that Sunday prep strategy.
Wow, that's a lot of organization and a lot of amazing planning and time. And this makes me want to be better with meals, because I do get stuck in those moments where I'm like, oh, it's 4:00. What am I going to make for dinner?
Yes.
And then I'm like, okay, next week I'm going to be a lot better. I'm going to sit down. But I love your strategy of sitting down and doing it all at the same time. So then it's just done. It's done. And your big calendar where your kids know what's going on and they know what to expect. Yes. And then you know what to expect and it reminds you. That's wonderful. Now, this is the topic that is hard for every mom, just the self-care topic, because you get so busy and you want to put your kids in front of yourself. And how do you take care of yourself through all of this? What's some good tips for moms that maybe have a hard time with putting themselves first? Or I'm sorry, not putting themselves first, but giving them the time for that self-care.
Yeah. So let me say this first. Originally, when I first started being a lifestyle coach, I was only doing the time management, planning, and organization all day long. Time management, organization, planning, telling the moms, I have you, I'll take care of you, I'll teach you anything you need to know when it comes to those three subjects. I got to the point where I actually experienced a burnout, like really, really bad, to the point where I couldn't take on any more clients. I had an assistant at the time. I literally called my assistant and said, by August, like, we're done for the year. Like, I can't do any more. Wow. My kids go back to school in August. So it's like, I'm going to get them prepared for school. I don't have the mental capacity, or physically, I can't do anymore. Right. And so we want to make sure that we're incorporating self-care so we can avoid that burnout. And so right now, because of that experience and going through that burnout, I'm super, super on my moms and talking about it all the time. Super important, making sure we take care of ourselves. And so the biggest thing that I hear when it comes to self-care is time and guilt. So we feel guilty about taking time for ourselves, or it's just like, I absolutely have no time. Like, there's no, like, I don't see it. I don't see a bubble bath nowhere in my future. Right.
Unless it's with my baby and they're with me. While I'm trying to wash their hair.
Right. Not me sitting in the tub. Right. And so start where you are is like literally what I tell moms. Start where you are. That literally can be 10 to 15 minutes a week. Right. The first thing, 10 to 15 minutes a week, is just getting the mindset and being intentional to carve out the time. That's where we need to start. So I don't care if it's 10 minutes, just for that. Out of 10 minutes, out of the whole 168 hours, 15 minutes. And then the next level is building up to you to do 30 minutes a week. And then you just keep increasing it as you find time. And because what happens, you're going to fall in love with it. And you're going to be like, oh, this 30 minutes needs to turn into an hour. I need the time, right? And so planning for your week kind of lets you know where you have those buffer times. So if you sit down on a Sunday and you kind of plan out the week, it's like, oh, wow, they're going to be with the grandparents on Friday. And typically I'm doing laundry. Let me do laundry while I'm helping with homework on Wednesday. So on Friday, now I can get in that nap, or I can get in that bubble bath. So being very intentional is something you definitely have to do, and just trying it out. You know, that helps with the guilt. And I promise you're going to fall in love with it.
That's awesome. And yeah, I love that. They all kind of go hand in hand. When you plan out, you're going to have time for that self-care time and being intentional that way. We're asking all of the people we're interviewing, just if there is a time, a parenting story you want to share where you felt less than perfect, but in the end, everything kind of turned out okay. Is there a time where you've had that?
Oh man, I'll give you the most recent time. Well, the most recent that I can think of. So my kids are at home, they're doing digital learning. And so I didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't know what the experience was going to look like for them and for me. And so what I did, again, I have a home-based business. I blocked off my entire calendar for the first week. I'm like, of school. I'm not going to take any sessions. I'm not going to talk to any clients. I'm just going to show up for my kids, and I'm going to do what I need to do because I'm mom, right? I'm going to show up, do what I need to do for them. First week, I'll be honest, it was crazy. It was chaotic. The school was having issues. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take off the next week. I'm not going to jump back into business until we kind of have a smooth rhythm going at home where I feel like I can step away for a moment and do like a 60-minute session with the client, right? So I take off the second week. Things seem to be rolling just a little bit better. You know, we kind of have a rhythm. The first day that I decide I'm going to open my calendar back up for sessions for my moms. So again, we have this rhythm. Everybody's doing what they need to do. First day, I decided to step away and go take a client session. My son missed like multiple classes that day. When I tell you, I felt so bad because he didn't know what was going on, you know, not totally his fault. It was new to him too. But I'm like, the first day that I decided, I felt so bad as a mom. I felt like you have literally chosen your business and your clients over your kids. Like, why would you do that? Like, this is the thing that's going through my head, right?
Yes.
Eventually, of course, I felt bad for a while. Like it lasted for days. I had to like talk myself out of feeling guilty about it. So that's definitely my, less than perfect moment that I've had as a mom.
And I'm sure your son was no worse for the wear and everything worked out and everything was all right.
Everything worked out. Even, I would say even up to today, just to say, like, just tell the moms, like, it's going to be okay. Life is not going to end. I'm super grateful because yesterday his teacher emailed and he took a reading assessment and he scored top in his class. And so this is proof of like, it's going to be okay.
One session of school was not going to kill him.
Right. It's not going to kill him at all. The world is not going to fall apart.
Yes, it's so true. And life is full of all of these little moments. And it's interesting how we learn from them and grow and get a lot better.
Absolutely.
So if you could give our moms one takeaway from all of these skills and strategies that you've taught us, what's the most important and what's your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway is for every mom is to kind of build your own blueprint, right? And so we can get a lot of information. We can learn a lot of tips and strategies, going to conferences, listen to podcasts, multiple things. But I think it's important to do what works for your household, right? So take them, tweak them so that it works. So me sitting down on a Sunday saying that I'm going to plan out my week, maybe that doesn't work for you. Maybe a Monday is better. Maybe a Wednesday is better. So taking the information that you give and applying it to your life, so that it helps you and your family dynamic, because everybody's household is different. Everybody's family is different. We're all individually different, right? And so create your own blueprint. There's so many societal norms that moms have to be this way. And, we get the pressure from not only society, sometimes it's from family members, sometimes it's from our community, whatever that looks like. But literally deciding that this blueprint is going to be what I created to be for me and my family is so much power and freedom in that. And that's what I want to leave with the moms today. Create your own blueprint.
Thank you so much, Tramika. You've given us some awesome tips on how to organize better and take care of ourselves and plan. And it's been really enlightening. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Hello, my name is Rich Christensen, and through the years of entrepreneurship and growing crazy businesses, I lost a view of what was really important. Through a series of really tender experiences, my mentor taught me you can replace anything in this world, but you cannot replace your family. So I made a dramatic pivot and started embedding deeply in my family some of the same principles that applied to business. My wife and I began very deliberately parenting. We looked for models, how not to mess our children up. There were really no good models to teach values, to entrench family unity, and to make sure that the values passed on in legacy to my children, and more importantly, my grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So like every great entrepreneur, I secretly created my own models. I was very hesitant to talk about it, but a few of my closest friends saw the impact that this was having on my children. I decided to take the processes that I used and create an online course so others could also work with their families to create tighter bonds, build confidence and self-esteem, while constructing a gorgeous legacy that they could live on past our lifetime. With this 5-part digital training series, you'll find the single most important lessons of thought leadership that I've ever created. There's 5 critical parts to this series, each with its very unique function. The first is symbols. creating unifying symbols that we all can touch to. Second is the doctrine, the guiding principles that we can tag and understand what the rules are. The third is the traditions or the rituals where we actually formalize and we unite and show that we're unified with the values. The fourth, my favorite, the defining life events. The final section of this is the structure. What do the really wealthy families do to preserve their wealth and to pass on in the form of family banking? To pass on how you appropriately set up the will and how you embed your family constitution so that these values permeate and pass on. I can tell you firsthand that taking these steps to create a beautiful life for my family is the most important work that I've ever done and also the most rewarding. I would invite you to learn some of these principles, unify your family, bond them, and take some of the guesswork out of this. And I'm going to provide you the framework to make that happen with this 30 years of life experiences. So join me, get your membership to build family legacies today.